Hello, 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 my people. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to our office hour session. My name is Dr. Adam Tice, and thanks for tuning in. So today we got another wonderful session planned today. I got been kind of looking over some of this research, and today's topic I want to talk about something a controversial, potentially controversial topic of homeopathy, and more specifically using homeopathics as a means to strengthen immunity. And there are some words and some terms in here as we go through here and talk about this. These will potentially raise the algorithms on Google and YouTube, whatever that means. There are some words that I'm going to try not to use, like the V word that is used so commonly in most medical offices when we're talking about pathogenic viruses and bacteria. So we won't be using the V word at all, and we're going to be talking about homeopathy. And I really want to tell you guys, because I'm really excited, because we got a version 5 immune remedy coming out, and that's really got this on my mind. And we're coming into the fall, and this is always, it's the flu season. Kids go back to school, people go back to school, and what happens every single year is people get sick. Okay, and that's normal. It's always been like that. We've been doing a homeopathic flu immune remedy for about 10 years now. 10-12 years now, and now we have the last 2 or 3 years now we have a viral immune remedy that is based on the virus that has been persistent and present and changing over the last 2 years, that starts with a C and ends with a D. And there are a lot of V's that are used in the normally as a prevention for this. But the thing is, there's a lot of issues that have come up with that. I don't know if you guys have seen, and we've seen a lot of this data coming out, and I don't want to get in and unpack that data, but basically pre-V rover deaths were in the neighborhood of 250,000. And now once that V was introduced, post-V data is out, and now there are 750,000 plus deaths from this. And there are numerous adverse events and many issues, a lot of cardiac issues, a lot of immune issues, a lot of neurological issues, a lot of inflammatory issues. So I do not want to unpack that whole data set right now. It's giant. There's probably other places that you can go and kind of get into that rabbit hole. Maybe we'll do this maybe that's for another venue. That's not for this venue to unpack that on YouTube for sure. Our video won't last very long like that. And I really want to stay on the positive side and on the solution-oriented side. So you need to go down the rabbit hole and understand some of the stuff that I'm talking about that's been labeled, as certain. It's been labeled in a certain way, okay? But again, let's let the data speak for itself and let the reality speak for itself. And in the long run, let's go out and see what actually works and what does no harm. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about homeoprophylaxis and how we can use that to tonify the immunity. I guess you could start out at the top just saying generalized homeopathy. This is probably one of the most controversial things that is out there. It's so funny to me how it happens, but if you go in there, go to any, or just try it yourself, make a favorable homeopathic comment on just about any comment thread just on your favorite platform, and just watch and see what happens. Watch and see what happens. People will come. It's amazing what happens. There's a lot of pushback to homeopathy as a system of medicine, and I'm used to it, but and even inside the profession, this is important also. This is a homeopaths are kind of an endangered species. So if you have found someone, especially that is actually that has spent years and had some professional training in homeopathic prescriptions and homeopathic materia medica and homeopathic case taking, and they know how to give a good prescription, and most importantly how to follow up a case, stick with that person. Keep that person close, because they're an endangered species. There's not a lot of us out there. There's probably a couple hundred of us on the planet that consider ourselves true homeopaths. And I consider myself a homeopath. I mean, that's my roots. Magic of the minimum all day long. That's really what I'm looking for at the end of the day, and I use homeopathy in my practice as a mainstay. Oftentimes it doesn't get a lot of the glory, but you better believe it, everybody gets a remedy, and that is really what I've seen, you know, and that's a different kind of prescribing than I'm going to be talking about today. But just to say homeopathic medicine is super controversial, and it just is. I think it's and this is for a lot of reasons, and we're going to kind of talk about that in just a little bit. But I just wanted to get, and this might be a part one of a series on this, because this is a giant topic. Again, homeopathy as a system of medicine, separate, unique, and distinct, able to stand all on its own. Okay, that's a conversation. And then inside, in that umbrella of homeopathic medicine, we have these different aspects, and I specifically want to talk about homeoprophylaxis and nosodes today. And I'm going to try and make sense out of that. It's kind of complicated, but not really. Talk a little bit about, just to say that, you know, one of the first things that you hear about homeopathy in general, I want to try to sort of sit aside some of the challenge you might get, is that it's unscientific. And I could just say there's nothing really further from the truth. I don't know many other sciences that are as well and as rigorously documented as homeopathic medicines and the provings and the materia medica. And there's a lot of studies that are published. I'll mention a few of them and give you some keywords, and you can look up the research. I don't want to unpack all the research right now, but you can look at the research by Iris Bell in the American Journal of Homeopathy from circa 2012 or so. There was a review of 300 articles, and going over the scientific basis of homeopathy. And just to mention, one of those studies that was cited in there discusses how the researchers were able to utilize homeopathic medicines in cell cultures to protect cells from certain heat shock proteins and other perturbations, challenges that they were exposed to. And what was interesting is the researchers showed that not only did the homeopathic potentization of the perturbing substance reverse the insult to the cell, but it also somehow strengthened that cell over time. And this is something that's really interesting. That's just what the research. And this is really where you get into even being able to digest and cognize the research. You have to understand this paradigm conversation about how there are at least two paradigms out there. And for just the sake of the simple conversation now, we'll say the old world, the flat earth paradigm, and then the new, the newer, updated, more quantum earth model, which is where all the new science is heading and what all the new science is revealing. You have these paradigms. I mean, of course, there are more paradigms than that, but you have to understand, if you're trying to understand some of these findings in a flat earth, linear, deterministic kind of a paradigm, you're not going to be able to cognize it. You won't be able to understand this. So you have to make sure that you have at least read yourself up on the research and moved yourself into at least a quantum paradigm where you can understand even how some of these findings are possible. Another interesting study is from the, first of all, there's the Cuban government study in 2010, large-scale application of highly diluted bacteria for leptospirosis epidemic control. There were 2.3 million people and about 500 public health officials, and that study showed that those highly diluted pathogens induced a protection in a very short time scale. And so this is something just to kind of demonstrate again, you know, number one, there's plenty of scientific evidence. You just have to get in there. Look at, you know, again, that Irish Bell, there's over 300 studies there. You can get into some of that data. The objective is to build immunity. We got to understand what paradigm we're in. And this is one of those things, is like, make no mistake about this. The drug companies and pharma, they know about this. They know that this kind of medicine exists, and they do not want it to make it out into the mainstream. And we'll see what even happens with this video. We're trying to keep it clean and not be too controversial and raise up any kind of you know, AI logarithms that are scanning for certain keywords, you know, like homeoprophylaxis and things like that. But it is what it is, and we'll do the best we can. We're trying to bring some positivity into the world, and we just bring the light and shine the light no matter what. And in the end, the light wins the end. That's what we're doing. So what happens along the way, it's the journey. Make no mistake, the drug companies know about this. They read the same research that I do, and the same research that you too can do. And this is the one of the reasons there's a lot of pressure to get rid of homeopathy, because it actually works. And today I want to talk about Nosodes and Homeoprophylaxis in specific, but there are a variety of approaches to use homeopathy in chronic disease and infectious disease, and in epidemic and pandemic situations. You have the constitutional individual approach, you have combo remedy approach, we have a genus epidemicus, and we have this homeoprophylaxis nosode method. So there's different methods. Again, I want to focus on this one immune boosting homeoprophylaxis nosode method, because that's what we've actually been seeing and utilizing. And again, I'm not making any claims here. I'm a clinician. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a researcher. I really don't have any vested interest in one side of anything or the other. I'm interested in humanity. I'm interested in being a good clinician. I'm interested in observing and seeing what actually happens. Philosophy and theory are all really nice, and I love that. And if something makes sense, then that's great. I'll look at it. But then again, I'm kind of coming from the applied science side of it, meaning I'm on the clinician side of it. Means I need it to actually work in real life, and that's mostly what I'm interested in. And that is actually what we have seen. And anybody that's watching this, you guys that have seen or used any of our homeopathic immune remedies over the last couple of years, whether it was one of the Rover remedies, and I'm about to release version 5 that's coming out. So if you know, you know. And again, we've been doing this with the flu remedy for many years now, like 10 plus years now. So you know, any of you guys that are watching this that have used those remedies, chime in the comments below and kind of leave some of that social proof. So you know, I mean, you guys see it's me talking this stuff. I mean, it's, of course I'm the doctor, and you could claim that I have some sort of bias or whatever, but it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, what matters to me is what actually works in the clinic. So I don't know why the need to always justify the homeopathic medicine. I find myself even doing that. And I'm sure you guys have found yourself in similar situation, trying to share, you know, something exciting when a new remedy comes out or something like that, maybe with a friend, a loved one, a family member, a colleague, a coworker, or something. And you always find yourself trying to prove yourself. It's just a funny phenomenon that happens. I think there's some psychological reasoning behind that, and we don't have to unpack all that. But again, we're just trying to share things that work and things that are positive. So just kind of observing these things even in my own delivery as we pitch this stuff. You know, I think it's when you have something good and you know that it's true and that it's real and that it works, you just want to share it with people. So I'm looking at another study here. This is a little bit similar but different to what I'm talking about, but I think it will help kind of explain the point. This is a paper that I'm looking at on using homeopathics in drug-resistant organisms, so in antibiotic resistance, and in the case of superbugs, this is a big problem. For example, MRSA, the Staph aureus and traditionally vancomycin is used to treat this, and now we have vancomycin-resistant Staph aureus, and this is a big deal, increasing. So we're going to have to find some other kind of tools to address these bugs and bacteria, and everybody knows the strongest and the most robust bugs and superbugs live in the hospitals, and that's where these things are really made and created, and that's where the big issues are. But we have to look out for this stuff and be mindful of this stuff, because these are challenges, public health challenges, critical, infectious disease challenges that are going to have to be met with some new and novel solutions moving into the future. And the medicine of the new man is homeopathy. And as we see this is we're gonna I want to speak on some of the science that's come out, because it's really interesting, and this is really moving us into the realm of a quantum understanding about how the world and how science is working, and how DNA itself and how water interacts, and how that water acts and carries some kind of a memory of that organism. And that essentially is kind of what the proposed mechanism is of how this works. And some of this is based on a man named Benveniste's experiment. You can look this up. If you look on Google, you will find that and see eventually the Nature article that was published. They pulled that article and ended up debunking that science, even though it was reproducible by other people, and it was shown that there were effects on white blood cells by, it's been a while since I saw the details on this research, so I'm drawing it from memory. I didn't pull this up, but there were highly diluted immunoglobulins that were introduced into a media, and they exerted an influence and they exerted an effect on the immune system, although technically there was nothing in there, right? So that's kind of what the people say about homeopathy, about how it does not work. Well, there's theoretically nothing in it. It's been diluted beyond the point of Avogadro's number, and so beyond the point where there's theoretically any molecule left. But that again is a worldview and an old science and a paradigm conversation, because if you need a mechanism of action dependent upon some molecule or some substance to exert some activity in the biochemistry and the physiology, that's what the old world kind of lock and key ABC 1, 2, 3 biology model is, and we know that that's not true anymore. But we still teach that in school, and we still teach that in the books in medical school and university, I'm sure. And we're not teaching this new science that shows that somehow there are biological effects and some kind of information that is retained from biological organisms that can be preserved and transmitted in water. And this is kind of a working model of how is that remedy retaining and transmitting this information to ultimately tonify the immune system, to build the immune system. And that's why I call it a homeopathic immune remedy, because it keeps us safe, right? Because we definitely are not making any claims, because only the FDA and the CDC and those folks can make claims. So we don't want to go in that territory. We want to stay over here on our side of the fence here and just say that these are generally healthy immune system tools. And I think we need to introduce this into the conversation. And again, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you need to know about this for yourself and your family. That's a little bit of the proven science, the drug resistance, worldviews on homeopathy, just to kind of give some context here. Homeopathy in the US is pretty rare. If you were born and raised in the West, in the United States, you are definitely a minority if you're using homeopathy, and you're a minority if you know anything about homeopathy. But around the world, it's used by 500 million people. I mean, and this is thousands of, millions of people, thousands of practitioners, in South America, the Caribbean, Cuba, Argentina, Colombia, Brazil, in Mexico, they actually integrate it into their national healthcare system. Brazil, the government approves there of those medicines, and they try to actually bring that medicine to the national level and give that medicine, the access to that medicine to millions of people. These are what other governments across the world are doing, and there's good reason for this because it works. And a lot of these governments have seen this, and they use this in in their government healthcare systems. They are incorporated in. So, I mean, a couple of the things just why we should be using homeopathy also. It's used around the world by hundreds of millions of people. The remedies are highly effective and they work immediately. The prescribing is super easy to learn. The instructions and the dosing are super simple, and they're safe for all age categories, safe for young people, safe for old people, super easy to administer. They have a long shelf life. They're not going to go bad. They're super compact. They can be transported easily and safely, legally. They're inexpensive, super cheap. And you can take this, there's no interactions with drugs, no pharma interactions you need to worry about. So safe, gentle, effective, affordable. These are the kinds of medicines that we need to be introducing. And this is really what I'm doing, is introducing something into the informed consent conversation, which is something that is a duty of a physician to review the procedures. What is a procedure? What are the alternatives? What risks and what questions? So this is in the category of true, full informed consent, giving you, like, what's another option that I have to take care of myself, in an infectious episode or in an epidemic or pandemic episode? What are my other options that I can use? And this is not something new. The Epidemic Administration of Homeopathy, Dr. Sain put a really great presentation entitled Homeopathy in the Times of Epidemics. So if you know who Andre Sain is, you can look that up. It looks like that's from June of 2017, Homeopathy in the Times of Epidemics. And I'm sure Dr. Sain notes everything exhaustively, much more so than I will. So go to that if you want to see all of those details. And all of the nitty-gritty details and the numbers and all those stats in there. I'm just giving the high-level stuff and more of the general principle and concept. It's designed to be really kind of an introduction to some of these concepts and ideas, and if we need to or want to take a deeper dive into any of this, again, I'm giving some of the keywords. You can go do deep dive in some of that research. I don't want to unpack it all in these office hour sessions. We could be here for hours and hours and hours. It's super interesting though, to see this stuff, and it helps with the paradigm shift to see, here's the Spanish flu statistics. Homeopathy was used in the Spanish flu successfully. The numbers here, Spanish flu killed an estimated 30 to 50 million people. It's a big range, but that's what we got. And so we have the fatality rate under homeopathic care was 0.7%. And at the conventional medicine rate, it was 6%. That's a giant difference. There's some other details in there. And again, present day evidence, we've been using these immune remedies for the last couple of years in the, the given global situations with Rover and all of the different V's and those procedures that, that have been going on. We've been using these remedies and have had tremendous results, and that's all I can say about that. Again, if you've had some experience with these immune homeopathic remedies, please leave your comments below and share with other people so they can see what we're talking about here. This was a mention of the Cuban studies. So that's a little bit about this nosode thing, guys. I mean, this is a really interesting content here, and I don't know how much stuff is on the internet about this, but as homeopaths, we've been gathering this data and prescribing remedies for people. Again, there's different levels of prescription that we would make, whole person, individualized prescriptions. That's what I do mostly, constitutional Hahnemannian prescriptions. But I do think that there is a place for homeoprophylaxis, and again, because I've seen it work, that's really the main thing. It's like philosophy and theory aside, it's like practically, does it work? It seems to be working. We're getting favorable results that, you know, what do I mean by favorable? I mean by people that are sick, and when they take remedies, they get better. They have less duration of illness, less intensity, and less frequency of the illness overall. That's how we track things, you know, frequency, intensity, duration, and that's really what we want to happen. You know, again, it's good to get sick once every, you know, 1 to 2 years and get that kind of an upgrade for the immune system, but we're not interested in any of the long haul stuff or any of the lingering symptoms going on and on and on forever and ever and ever. Everybody, we've heard these stories, and I think most of us know somebody that's dealt with, you know, some kind of long haul type symptoms. So these homeopathic immune remedies that I'm talking about, and they're ready now, guys. So I'm gonna put a link now, and we'll be you know, those of you guys in Human Handbook, you're gonna have first access to these. My on-call people are gonna have first access. Human Handbook's gonna have first access, you know, to the first batch of these homeopathic immune remedies that are coming out. Their first batch is like ready, and a couple of them have already gone out. So this is what's going on, really, just to give a little bit of background about this type of remedy, that it exists, that there is some proven science there, that there is some proven usage there at the global level, and that we do have promising and favorable outcomes with zero downside. And that's the really nice thing. It's like there's no downside, there's no adverse event, there's no side effect, after effect, crazy stuff that happens. It's just pure, clean, simple medicine, and that's kind of what we're dealing with. There was one more thing I wanted to mention that was really interesting, just to kind of give you guys a little bit more keywords. There's a man named Luc Montagnier. He actually was key in discovering the AIDS virus years ago, and he's done research, and you can find some of his research. But some of his research, he was not researching homeopathy, but what he found out, what he discovered, has direct implications for homeopathics. And what this research, and this is not even new anymore, this was done in like 2010, 2011, I think this stuff first came out. But his research showed that they have found that DNA, that the DNA produces structural changes in water which persist at very high dilutions, which lead to resonant electromagnetic signals that are measurable, and not all DNA produces signals that can detect with the device, but high intensity signals come from bacterial and viral DNA. And that these findings, these have implications for applications in homeopathic medicines, but not only that, this has implications and potential applications for novel treatments of a lot of chronic diseases. And this again is a whole nother field that needs to be dialed in and tapped into, but this is this kind of nosode field of research that we have not even tickled the tip of the iceberg with this thing. So chronic disease, autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, a lot of neurodegenerative conditions, a lot of immune and autoimmune type conditions. Super interesting stuff. So these are showing basically that DNA and biological material can imprint information in water, and when that is subject to ultra high dilution and potentization, that somehow that information is retained across that process and then can be administered, and then that information can be uptaken by the biology. It's like an app download into your system. It's kind of how you say, right? Where does that app come from on your phone? It's just out of thin air. Where does the email come from? It's out of thin air. How does the information get there? It's just in there. It's just, that is how the information, just because we cannot see it happening, it is in the field there, and that is what the potential of this research is. I think the Nosode research has tremendous applications to not only infectious disease and seasonal issues like the flu and like rover and like really any pathology that you name, but those are kind of the big ones right now. We can use the immune homeopathic remedies to prevent, well, let's watch our words there. You can use this in front of as a protection, and once those, if those conditions are acquired, this is a potential, is showing a potential that may help improve the immune function and shorten the duration and intensity of that condition. That's the homeopathic immune stuff. If you know, you know. It's ready. Homeopathic version 5. So we're headed into the new season here. And if you guys have questions or stories or experiences, I know a bunch of you guys have been around for 10 plus years and you've seen this. So say something in the comments and let us know some experience with it. I've heard a lot of these over the years, but I want to hear them from you guys. That's what's going on. Let me know questions, thoughts. Maybe we can do another session on this. And I put a lot of stuff out there, just a lot of different kind of viewpoints and a lot of keywords that we can go deeper, do a deeper dive on any of this. But that is the download that I wanted to do for you guys today, and we will pick it up here next time. And again, this is everything that you need to know, but nobody's telling you. It's Dr. Adam Tice, the Human Handbook. You guys that are in here, welcome. I love you. Thank you so much for being part of our community. We want to grow our community. So, you know, I would love for you guys to invite people. Again, we tweak some of the network settings on the back end, so you can, if you're in the community now, you can invite, you know, friends or people that you think might need to hear some of this or might enjoy or benefit from some of this. This is not for everybody, guys, by the way. So if it's not for, you know, this is not for everybody. This is for the people. I'm not here to convince anybody or sell anybody on anything. It's like I'm here for people that are convinced and that already are in the know, and that's who I'm servicing. That's who I'm interested in. Those are my people, and those of you that, you know, I'm looking for the people that have eyes to see and ears to hear. If you cannot see what I'm saying and you cannot hear or understand what I'm saying, that's all good. It's okay. Just, there are plenty of other places to go out there, plenty of other things to listen to, so it's all good, guys. Just trying to bring the good work, bring the good medicine, and homeopathy is one of those things that just quietly keeps on, you know, kind of keeps on going in the background, and it has persisted for a few hundred years now, and I suspect that it will continue to, because it has the frequency of truth in the sense that it works, and anything that works, that really works, will persist, and it will go underground, and it will find a way to be transmitted and communicated and propagated to those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, and those of us, you know, it's the medicine of the new man. So there is a new man, a new man not meaning like, you know, man meaning like human, meaning like homo luminous person, and I think these brain grooves that understand how this homeopathy is working and how these new medicines are working, those are the people that are going to be really bringing this work out into the world. It's super important. Okay, guys, adios for now. Dr. Jen's got her homeopathy course coming out. Join the Human Handbook, tune in, and you guys post and comment down there. I really want to bring it alive. Our community is still young, and I want to grow this, so we're going to be showing up in here, and I do have a botanical medicine course that's coming out. We have a whole new herbal medicine line that's coming out, but the big news right now, version 5 homeopathic immune remedy is ready, and that's what we're talking about. So Adios, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Office Hours signing off.